So, welcome to another episode of the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast, where we hopefully inspire others to actually use podcasting as a way to grow their business, increase their clients, whatever it is you're looking for. Now, today's guest is Cliff Nonnenmacher, and we're going to be talking about franchising and scaling a small business. So, welcome to the show, Cliff.
Thank you so much, Karen. I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Let's start with your background because I know you were an investment banker, but if you'd like to share with the listeners what actually inspired you to help people go into franchising to grow their business.
Absolutely. So my journey goes way back, and I'll give you the short version. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much my whole life, going back to almost age 8, raking golf balls and selling them at country clubs and doing all various things. So I've always been entrepreneurial, and I always knew at a young age that I wanted to be self-employed. I never wanted to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer. I wanted to be self-employed. So I ended up as an entrepreneur. I ended up making money at a young age, and I started trading stocks, which is how I became a investment banker with, at the time, was called Solomon Smith Barney. Today it's Morgan Stanley. And as I went through life with my entrepreneurial journey, I started buying failure. So my business partner, Justin, and I started to engage in purchasing bleeding, failing businesses that we felt had strong fundamentals, a strong brand. And we felt it was owner operator error. We felt they either ran out of runway, operating capital, or they just weren't following the model. So we would pay 10 cents on the dollar, buy these businesses, turn them around very quickly, and then sell them for a multiple. And we would turn them around, by the way, within 12 months. And we would have a buyer within 12 months. So it goes to show you that when you do follow the system and you do allocate a proper amount of capital to the business, this went from bleeding, we're closing, this is the worst decision I ever made, according to the seller, to I'm going to take it, nurture it, cultivate it, and I'm going to sell it within 12 months with an annualized net of over 6 figures. Those two stories can't be true, right? What was very interesting is this is the interesting part, when we would have conversations with people about, let me ask you something. We're about to pay you 10 cents on the dollar for this business. How did you get involved in this brand? The answers were bizarre, and they had nothing to do with any investment discipline. It was ranked one of the hottest concepts. Our neighbor's friend's cousin was going on vacation 4 times a year, and we were like, wow, we want that life too. They were buying businesses with people who were, let's say, salespeople, but you're an engineer. So because the salesperson is successful in that business and in that role, you're an engineer that sits in a cubicle writing code. Why would you think there's a fit? So again, the answers lack structure. They lacked discipline. They lacked any strict adherence to due diligence. It was just, they're doing it. They're successful. So we did it. And to me, that's not how you invest in anything. You don't buy stocks. You don't buy bonds. You don't buy art. You don't buy real estate. Can you imagine? You're a family of 5 and your friend buys a studio apartment and your friend's really smart, right? And you're like, my friend bought a studio and they love it and they're really smart. But you're a family of 5. Like, you can't just keep living and riding coattails of others. You have to think for yourself. And this is a big issue today where people really do need guidance, they need structure, they need discipline, and they need to understand that introspective self. What do you want? Forget what your friend wants. Forget what the world, what do you want? What's important to you? What's important to your spouse? What's important to your family? And that's what we bring to the table, discipline. If you wrapped it up in one word, discipline.
And one thing that really does seem to be missing, like you said, I think it's people, they have this idea or they see something on social media more often than not, or they watched a YouTube video and they think, yeah, I want some of that, but there's no alignment. You've got to be in alignment with what it is you're going to do. And the flip side of that, right? This happens all over. Like, I moved to the Algarve, Portugal, 2003. Okay. And what happened was, because a lot of expats will move there because there's sunshine, because we don't have any in England.
Hmm.
And they might have been an investment banker, right, for instance. And all of a sudden, I'm going to buy a restaurant because they're going to do so well. And they've never had any experience
Right.
at all in the business of, in the restaurant business or in marketing a business anyway.
Hmm.
So actually, they spend all the money putting it together and making it all look fancy, but they've forgotten the most important thing, which is the marketing. And
That's
then
right.
their business fails and they rub. So this happens across the board, right? Not
So
just.
you bring up a valid point, and this is a perfect example, and you brought it up. Restaurants. No one
Mm.
will ever give you a financial reason to purchase a restaurant. It's always feelings. I love cooking. I love going table to table. I love holding court. I love being involved in my community. It's like you haven't talked about cost of goods. You haven't discussed labor. You haven't discussed the construction cost of that restaurant. You haven't discussed the seasonality of where you're operating in an area that you just described, which is highly seasonal. You talk about all, no, it's always feelings and it's never about empirical information. And this is why a lot of restaurateurs fail, because they don't realize that they're embarking on a brand that has a razor thin margin. And post COVID, the margins have gotten tighter and
Oh,
tighter because every area of our lives has doubled in value, from real estate to the labor cost to the rent to the construction to the cost of commodities to the cost of eggs to the cost of red
yeah.
meat. But yet, when you speak to a restaurateur, oh my God, I love cooking. Oh, I used to cook all the time. I have so much fun doing it. It's just feelings. And unfortunately, when you lead that way, you could get yourself in a lot of trouble.
But I suppose the issue that some listeners might have would be from some aspects, people are being told, do what you love. You've got to
Right.
go into a business because you're passionate about it. And there is that side of it. But what I'm hearing from you is that you've got to eliminate the feelings. You've got to get rid of those emotions and look at it from a business point of view. Can you do both, Cliff? Can you do both?
Absolutely, you can. Totally. I think there's nothing wrong with starting the journey, to your point, with I love food. Great. Let's research food. But after the feelings part, it's, do you understand? Did you do your pro forma? I did. What did you conclude? I concluded that if I did a million in revenue, I would only take home 80 grand. All right, there's an 8% net margin. How does that make you feel? I can't live on 80 grand. I need to make 180 grand. So what do you do with that? I'm going to have to own 2 restaurants. And what's that investment? That will be $1.5 million. Are you comfortable with that? No. So you could see how I started with what I love, and then it turns into, this is not a good fit for me and my family and the earnings that I'm accustomed to. Okay, what else are you
Mm.
passionate about? Oh, I love pets and animals. I love pets more than people. Okay, great. Let's look at dog daycare, dog boarding. Let's look at that space. How do you feel about that? Oh, I can make great money doing it. It's exactly, I love it equally to food. I'm just as passionate. It's funny you ask that, because I always ask people, I like to put capitalism and, let's say, passion on a percentage scale. What I have learned over 20 years of doing this is that, honestly, most people are 70% capitalism and 30% quote, I need to love what I do. So people will start with
Mm.
that, but when you really drill down, as they say, like peel back those layers, when you really do that, you will find out that most people, at the end of the day, they want to protect their family, they want to protect their investment, they need an advisor, and at the end of the day, 30% I need to love what I do, 70% this better make money, I better not lose my investment, and I better be able to provide for my families. Yes,
Absolutely.
I think this makes for good book reading and follow your heart. And Warren Buffett says, if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. I do believe in platitudes and all the unicorns and kitten whiskers, but at the end of the day, you need to make a living and pay your mortgage and retire.
Absolutely.
Seriously, people,
Absolutely.
lawyers don't even like being lawyers, but they do it. If you speak to lawyers, they really don't enjoy being lawyers. Every lawyer I've met is, oh my goodness, I wish I did something else. So it's, look, you're doing it. You're really not in love with it any longer. You thought you were. It's your profession. It's your career, and you're going to retire in it. It
Yeah.
happens.
I'm sorry, but it's always going to, people trying to say it's not about the money. It's going to be about the money because where you've got your mortgage, that bank, they want the money. The
Yeah.
the electric company, the gas company,
True.
they want the money. You've got to do it. So you help people who are maybe not finding a job or they've been laid off, you must have a process. How do you
Mhm.
actually help people? Are you helping them choose the right franchise? Are you how are you doing this?
We're doing it through discipline and a process, yes. So we begin by understanding the investor and the investor's objections. Some want to keep their career. Let me make that clear to the audience. Not every deal is a displacement. Not every deal is I can't find a job. A lot of deals are I have a career. I like my career and I like the cash flow that it provides. And the cash flow that my current career is providing is allowing me to speculate in a business and have a side gig. So a lot of our deals are people who are keeping their full-time career and want to get something going on the side. If you, Karen, if you go back and think about like where we started with a single head of household earner with a one-car garage, that's where we started. A matter of fact, there was one car in that driveway. We quickly, due to inflation and most countries constantly printing money, we ended up with, you know what, spouse? It's time for you to go to work. They go to work, two-car garage. Now we need two cars. We're now in a place in the world, or at least in our country, where you have dual income and now they need a side gig for some extra ancillary income to offset expenses or to just retire uncompromised because the pension era
Mm,
is dead. Pensions in corporate America are over. These people work 30 years. They don't even get a gold watch. They don't get a pension. It's like whatever you put in your 401k, it's on you, right? So
mm,
think about that. So we're living in a time now where people are like, look, I need that third income stream. I need that passive, semi-absentee income. And a lot of these folks, when we talk to them, I own an Airbnb. My spouse and I bought this property. We also do a little bit of investing. And now we're thinking about buying a franchise for additional cash flow. So it's not just displacement, it's everything. Our
mm,
process will take them from really understanding why they're here, really understanding their intestinal fortitude to do something. A lot of people don't have it. If you look at the world, most people are not self employed, right? So I never
mm,
expect anyone to buy the business. I just expect them to engage, go through the process, and see is franchising a fit? Is it the right investment vehicle for the investor? Just go through the process.
mm,
Zero expectations. I also want to mention that our services are free. Nobody believes free anymore, and I don't blame them. It's an abused word. However, our services are free to the buyer. We're compensated by the seller, a lot like a headhunter or a realtor, where we're paid by the other party. Two sides of a transaction, buyer, seller. I represent the buyer for free. I'm paid by the seller. So, pretty simple process.
mm,
And yes, we will take the buyer through the whole journey from engagement to discovery to validation to legal review to due diligence to what we call Discovery Day, where you actually press the flesh with the brand, with the executive team, maybe with a founder or the C suite, really peek behind the curtain and determine this feels right. I met the people, I've enjoyed the product, the service, and I'm gonna buy this franchise. So we take them through the whole thing. The whole process takes about 3 months. As you could tell, when I say we're disciplined, we move slowly, we move very methodically, right? Everything we do is purposeful and we never push the investor. We move at their pace. And to close the loop on due diligence and buying a business takes around 3 months minimum.
mm. And what types? Can you give some examples of what types of businesses are you dealing with?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I think that we have a list of trends. Clients ask us that question all the time. It's always what's hot. Everyone wants to know what's hot, right? So it's not necessarily what's hot, it's what's trending. I think that people need to put belt and suspenders on making investments in an era. Think about what's been announced in just the last several months. You have AI. AI is advancing so quickly, it's almost frightening. Grok just came
Mhm.
out with another upgrade to their AI system, ChatGPT as well. They're all constantly upgrading, and they're not upgrading like an iPhone, which could be years or a year or 2 years. They're updating now weekly, monthly. That's how
Monthly.
fast. Yes. In addition to that, you had quantum computing being announced as the next leg of technology, which is also insanely frightening when you think about what these machine learnings are able to do. It's just remarkable to me. With all that said, we focus on 5 areas. Number one, any business involving the use of a tool. to us has AI. It doesn't have the AI risk, and it doesn't have Amazon or Temu risk, right? That online risk.
Mm,
You can't hire a garage door repair person on the internet. You can't right now. The
not
Optimus
yet.
robot is not doing. Yes, not yet. I believe they have a 10-year runway. That's my prediction. You have a 10-year runway. Next,
Yeah.
so anything involving tools, HVAC, roofing, flooring, drywall repair, painting, door replacement, window replacement, pressure washing, window cleaning, squeegee, it's a tool. So all of these things right now we focus on, which is the home improvement space or the tool space. Next is going to be anything involving the aging of America. Our country's aging rapidly. We are not repopulating, and there are heavy demands on our aging population. Our culture is to not let the old person move into your home. It's to put the old person in a facility like assisted living,
Mm.
nursing home, right? We're not like Japan where the kids fight over who's going to care for mom and dad and grandma and grandpa. That's not our culture. With that said, there are demands for facilities and labor and so on for home care, mobility, transportation, etc. So aging of America is huge. Next category is going to be, since we're not repopulating and we're aging, we have humanized pets and animals in America. We humanize them. They
Mm.
went from living in the backyard, chained to a tree. We gave them a house, a little doghouse outside. Then we brought them in a little bit. Now they sleep in the master bedroom bed. So
Yep,
we
under the
humanize them.
duvet.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that, there's $160 billion in the pet care space in the US,
Mm.
massive market cap, huge opportunity in what we call the humanization of pets and animals. Next, because we're aging, we want to look beautiful. We want to feel sexy. We want anti-aging. We want biohacking. We want peptides and NACs and Botox and facials. We want all of it, right? With all that being said, massive opportunity in the med spa space, the biohacking space, the anti-aging space,
Mm.
the beauty space. And then lastly, our public schools, in my opinion, have failed miserably our children. They've eliminated programs due to what they call budget restrictions, like music, like art, and anything involving child enrichment. See, the parents still want it. It's the schools that killed it. And we've proven this because franchises have backfilled all of the things that the public schools have killed: art, STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math, and art, and anything to make a child a better, more productive, more intelligent human being. And franchise opportunities are backfilling all of that stuff. So, those are our 5 categories that we tend to focus on. And nearly all of them have no AI risk and they do not have Amazon online risk. That's our focus for our investors.
That is so important. The way I see it is these days, the kids are being pushed to go to uni. I didn't push my girls because I would say to them, those jobs aren't going to be there in 10 years' time.
Right.
Maybe even hold back. And when you've made a decision, then go and study because everything that they are pushing, yeah, AI is going to take over most of those jobs.
Totally.
There's no longevity in it. So that's really an important, I think, key factor to what you're offering is that the fact that, yeah, don't worry, it's not going to be taken from you in the next year because, yeah, you're right. It's keep up at the moment. What is going on
Absolutely.
in the world of AI?
That's
So,
right.
what do you think? What stops somebody, especially I think from if they've been in the same role for so many years
Hmm.
and they've just been laid off and they can't get a job due to their being over 50. So they're away from being done and dusted. What is stopping them though? What holds them back from reaching out to somebody like you to actually invest in themselves, really?
Absolutely. That's exactly what they're doing. They're investing in yourself. And that's the problem. Fear. That's the issue.
Mm,
And it's paralyzing, it's crippling, and fear has killed way more dreams and opportunities than
mm,
failure ever has. And when people realize that it's fear that holds you back, it's fear why you didn't retire on time, it's fear why you can't send your kid to college, it's fear that is stopping most people from living the best life that they can live. They don't have the intestinal fortitude, they don't have spousal support, they don't have that parent pushing them. They don't have someone saying, you can do this. You got this. What is happening? You're so bright. You're so motivated. You're so driven. You're so competent. You're so capable. Why don't you believe in yourself? And what most people do is they blame they'll blame a spouse. I would do it. My spouse is not comfortable. No, that's not the case. It's you. It's you. You're
Mm.
the reason. You're holding you back. And that's what we find in this process. It's absolutely fear, because we have given them every tool, every bit of information. They have received more than you can imagine during the 3-month due diligence process to get really comfortable. It comes down to, do you believe in you? And do you believe in your ability to execute that business model and become successful in your local community? And unfortunately, we live in a time where, remember, really good times create really weak people, and really bad times create
Mm.
really strong people. We've been living in good times for too long, and it has weakened people, unfortunately. And it has affected my industry, because weakness doesn't equal buying businesses and speculating. It just doesn't. Intestinal fortitude is
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, 100%. I suppose this is why the millennials, bless them, have such a hard time,
That's right.
don't they? Because I
That's right.
think we say, yeah, I've spoilt my kids and now
They
like,
got a trophy for losing. Do the math.
yeah, it was never going to end. It was
Exactly.
the moment they started doing things like that, it was just, yeah, that's it, game over.
You,
A franchise is obviously, it's such a good business model. Going back to the fact that I see it all the time, but when you've been an employee, and there is definitely a mindset to being an employee, but they are so used to coming in every day and they know exactly what is expected of them, and they have all the different
so
areas. They've got HR department, they've got marketing department, and then suddenly they want to work for themselves and have the business, and they don't, and it's not their fault, it's because you don't know what you don't know, and they realize that all of a sudden they've got to wear these different hats every day, and they're not going to be experts at them all, because none of us are. We know our thing, right?
mhm.
So then I suppose the beauty of taking on a franchise is that all those systems are in place, just like when you were an employee of that other company. So
Right.
many advantages to that, because how many, do you know the stats of how many sort of businesses fail? It's pretty damn high when
Oh,
people
yeah.
try and go it alone.
Yeah, you're exactly right. There are statistics in failure in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And a lot of times they'll measure, is a business that started today still a business in 5 years, 60 months, right? And the answer is the majority of
Not
businesses fail
many.
within 5 years. Yeah. Yep. Especially when you
Mm,
hang your own shingle. You said something
yeah.
a moment ago that I sarcastically say, there is a shred of truth to what I'm about to say, but it's obviously hyperbole. What I tell people is, I would rather learn how to walk again than to go through the mental transformation of going from employee to business owner, because of everything that you just said.
Mm.
You've been told where to be. Like, you're 50 years old and you're asking a 23-year-old person in HR if you could go on vacation. Think about it. Like, you've been doing something for 30 years and it's, hey, the holidays are coming. Let me ask someone for time off. If you think about it conceptually, it's absolutely ridiculous that you're actually asking. You're a grown up.
Yeah.
You're asking for time off. So you're told where to sit, what office to go to, what to do, what not to do. You're just told all these different things. You're right. You've been told your whole life, this is your grid square, stand in it, be quiet. We've also
Yeah.
coined new terms like stay in your lane, right? Don't you
Yeah.
dare leave your lane. So we
Yeah.
have all these little things that corporate America has created, which has just further just suppressed creative thinking and all that stuff. And then they're like, you know what? I want to be an entrepreneur. Huge mental exercise to transition from that to entrepreneur, because now you're in control of everything, including creating the culture that you claimed you hated in corporate America. You're creating that culture now in your own small business, in Ohio, in Florida, in
Yeah.
Texas.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And but also I suppose it's also being accountable. I think that's underestimated,
Totally.
because when you are an employee, you don't tend to question, do we? Do you? You get on and you just do it. Whereas all of a sudden that accountability is gone when it's your own business. All of a sudden you do question.
Eh,
And quite often you question yourself. But
So
again, the
true.
bonus of having a franchise is that it isn't just you by yourself. You've got all those systems in place. So you've almost got that accountability again, if that makes sense.
100%. While you're saying this, we have a mayor in LA, right? Her city, like the whole state was burning down to the ground on live television. She is now implementing an investigation into why people let her go to Africa while her city was burning. When you talk about so you're not accountable for that. No, it's not my fault. Someone let me go. Why did they let me go? She wants to know why they let her go and why they didn't say you should stay back. This is the culture that we have created, and you nailed it. There is no accountability any longer. It's someone else. We had someone get burned by a coffee at McDonald's, and they sued and won millions of dollars. So you think about, shouldn't you have tested the coffee? Like, why is it always everyone else's fault? So accountability is critical. And you're right. When you're an entrepreneur, it all falls on your feet at your doorstep. You own it. You did it. You didn't do it. And like the story of us buying failure, you didn't execute. It's on you. You can't blame the brand. Like, you can't keep blaming everyone else for your failures and inadequacies. At some point, we need to own it. And hopefully the culture changes and we do become more accountable for our actions and inactions.
And I hope so too, because there's going to be so much more reward from being successful with your business.
Definitely.
Franchise or not, than working for somebody else's goals. And you mentioned there also, which I think is really important, about the fact that it's free. There's no loss there. So if when I'm presuming that if somebody purchases, then yeah, okay. And if people would like to know more or would like to even start the process, where do they reach you? What should the listeners do next, basically?
Yes, our website is www.franocity, FRANOCITY.com. And they can reach me direct at cliffn@franocity.com.
Fantastic. Cliff, thank you so much for your time today. This has been fun, actually. And the idea of franchises, and especially if you are concerned about certain jobs going because of AI. So maybe change is inevitable. So maybe be proactive and get ahead of the game, and maybe just even look into what opportunities are out there moving forward. So yeah, Cliff, thank you for your time. And next week, I'll be back next week with the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. Goodbye for now.
Thank you for listening to today's episode on the Podcast Profits Unleashed podcast. If you're a coach, consultant, therapist, or healer who would like to drive sales whilst having fun podcasting, head over to podcastprofitsunleashed.com/free and find out how you can turn your podcast into a sales machine. We'll see you on the next episode.